Okay, you can see it. Colorado inmate, his first human case of bird flu in the U.S. Yay. The man was in direct contact with infected poultry on a farm. Cool, short, sweet, straight to the point. Thank you guys very much. Have a nice day. I'm just kidding. Here's the rest of the article. First human case of bird flu detected in the U.S. Colorado inmate is the first person in the United States to test positive for bird flu, as an ongoing outbreak in the country continues to affect birds and poultry. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment said the man, who is under age 40, was involved in culling poultry that were presumed to be infected with the virus. Oh, good. So they're using prison inmates to kill the infected poultry. Okay, according to the press release from the CDPHE, the man, an inmate at a state correctional facility in Delta County, about 100 miles southwest of Aspen, was exposed while working with the infected poultry at a commercial farm in Montrose County, about 50 miles away. The farm is part of a pre-release employment program in which inmates can work for private companies and be paid a wage. Colorado health officials detected the virus in a single nasal specimen from the man, and the result was confirmed by the CDC on April 27th. Wait, today's the 29th, I think. Yeah, today's the 29th, and this is just a few hours old. So, okay. He was tested on the 27th. Okay. Your stock photo. Thank you, Getty Images. Anyway, the man was asymptomatic. Surprise, surprise. And only reported fatigue for a few days. Okay, so you're in prison, you're working, killing a bunch of chickens, infected chickens, and you're asymptomatic. You've been kind of tired for a few days, according to the CDC. Anyway, he has since recovered, but is currently isolating and receiving the antiviral drug Tamiflu. Dr. Rachel Harrelly, state epidemiologist for the CDPHE, told ABC News the man had 10 close contacts who were either coworkers of his on the farm, they lived with him, or used the same transportation services as he did. They all tested negative. Repeat testing of the man for influenza was negative. Oh, good. Okay, so serial testing, apparently. You can test negative, but you're still gonna... So a negative test is useless. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. Anyway, we aren't certain if this individual was truly infected or not, and we might actually never know with certainty. Harry said, oh wait, we don't know if this person was infected, meaning the virus was present and replicating in his body, or if some level of surface contamination of this person's nose may have occurred. You can have virus, that's, okay, sorry, you guys, yeah, you can have virus present in your nose, it can be detected on a test, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily causing infection. Good point. I do agree with that. The CDC also noted it's possible for the detection of bird flu to be the result of surface contamination. We know that this is primarily an animal health issue. He said there are lots of viruses that are transmitted within species, but not between species. Right. That's very, very rare. Anyway, everything we know about the virus right now suggests that it's really just being transmitted between avian species. Well, they're going to take care of her, or this person there. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's latest report, since late 2021, bird flu has been detected in commercial and backyard birds in 29 states and in wild birds in 34 states. More than 2,500 people with direct exposure to infected animals have been tested for bird flu and are negative, said the CDC. Bird flu infections among people are rare, but direct exposure to infected poultry or wild birds increases the risk, as it would. I think smallpox or something like that too. That's how they got. There was this thing going around, but then they noticed that farmers that were around these cows that had the pussy blisters and all that, they weren't getting sick and stuff from what was going around. And that had something to do with how it was solved or whatever. But anyway, yeah, bird flu infections among people are rare, but direct exposure to infected poultry or wild bird increases the risk. The first human case of this specific virus was detected by health officials in the United Kingdom in an asymptomatic patient who had been raising birds that became infected. Interesting. Bye-bye, backyard chickens. Take very, very good care of, keep them covered, keep your extra wild birds away. I You want to let your babies free range, but they can't. Officials say it's safe to eat eggs and poultry, with the USDA always advising proper handling and cooking of poultry products. Health officials said poultry owners or handlers should monitor fowl for signs of the bird flu and monitor feed and water supplies to avoid contamination. Not bad advice there. Early recommended people avoid contact with poultry or birds that appear to be ill or dead, as well as contact with surfaces that appear to be contaminated with feces from wild or domestic birds. Those who are required to handle sick or dead birds are advised to wear gloves and wash their hands with soap and water after. Okay, good. We're gonna need to follow up on this. We're going to bookmark that. See what the comments say. Oh, good. More bad news. I'll save that one for the next one because that's pretty important. Maybe if he was just left in jail, I get it, work release and stuff though. But what about these other 10 people that he was in contact with? They were all around the same stuff he was exposed to. They were in the process of killing him, so. Yep, I think that's coming. Oh my goodness gracious. The cat really getting the bird flu. Those hens sitting around and clucking at each other all day. That's rough. Well, we can see what the general consensus is on ABC News. Alright guys, I thought this was important enough for my very first video. Let's see what other new news comes up, but I think this is important to some foreshadowing perhaps. Good one. You know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. Help me out. Okay, I'm back. I couldn't just say that why I think that inmate and these people getting positive cases. It's going to be a big deal. This back in 2012. Bird flu from the BBC News, YouTube's, so you know this is from mainstream authoritative sources. Excuse me, I gotta take it. Sorry. Alright. Bird flu could mutate to cause deadly human pandemic. Awesome. Again, 2012. So maybe they saw something coming. H5N1 bird flu virus could change into a form able to spread rapidly between humans, scientists have warned. Researchers have identified 5 genetic changes that could allow the virus to start a deadly pandemic. Writing the Journal of Science? Anyway. Writing in the Journal Science. Maybe they should have a comment. I don't know. Anyway. They say it would be theoretically possible for these changes to occur in nature or in labs because they're fucking with shit. Oh wait, the U.S. agency has tried unsuccessfully to ban publication of parts of the research, fearing it could be used by terrorists to create a bioweapon. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. According to Professor Ron Fouchier from the Erasmus Medical Center in the Netherlands, who led the research publication of the work in full, will give the wider scientific community the best possible chance to combat future flu pandemics. Okay, we hope to learn which viruses can cause pandemics, and by knowing that, we might be able to prevent them by enforcing strict eradication programs. Oh, I think that's key, applicable nowadays. More people in more places trust BBC News than any other news source. See why. Anyway, he added that his work might also need the development of vaccines and antiviral drugs against a lethal form of bird flu that could spread rapidly among people. The H5N1 virus has been responsible for the deaths of tens of millions of birds and has led to hundreds of millions more being slaughtered just to stop the spread. The virus is also deadly to humans, but can only be transmitted by close contact with infected birds. Coughs and sneezes, though, hold up. It's the reason that relatively few people have died of bird flu. The latest, 2012, World Health Organization figures indicate that 332 people, never mind. People have died of the illness since 2000. 333. Anyway, I've died since 2003, so that's in 9 years then. Health officials are concerned, though, that the H5N1 virus could one day mutate into a form that could be spread between humans through coughs and sneezes, like the common cold through the air. This, they fear, could result in a lethal pandemic that could spread rapidly across the world, killing tens of millions of people. It is only now that a study has confirmed that the emergence of such a deadly virus is theoretically possible. A group led by Professor Faucier wanted to find out which genetic changes were required to enable the H5N1 virus to mutate into a form that could be transmitted from person to person through the air. Bird flu can only be spread by close contact, but the virus could mutate to be transmitted through coughs. His team compared the genetic structure of the bird flu virus with those responsible for earlier human flu pandemics. The researchers found key differences which they reasoned could be the mutations required. No, they found 5 key differences which they reasoned could be the mutations required for airborne transmission of the virus. They confirmed their theory was correct by genetically engineering those changes into the HC. Don't do that shit, just don't. Which they found could then be spread between ferrets through coughing and sneezing. Poor ferrets. A team from Cambridge University then looked to see whether such a mutation could emerge naturally. If so, its likelihood. The researchers studied the genetic structure of 3,000 bird viruses and 400 that occur in humans. They found some of these viruses had 2 of the key changes needed to become airborne. Mathematical modeling suggested it was indeed possible for a virus to develop the 3 further changes required during the course of an epidemic. Now, so what if it's a bioweapon? Okay, it's the first time it's been shown that it's possible for bird flu to become airborne. But the research team was unable to determine precisely how likely this was to happen. Now, Professor Derek Smith, who led the analysis, said more information was needed. He said researchers required a better understanding of how flu viruses were transmitted between people in order to develop a clearer idea of the likelihood of the emergence of an airborne strain of bird flu. These are difficult things to find out, Professor Smith told the BBC News. What this work enables us to do is prioritize particular experiments to obtain this information. It is clear that the emergence of an airborne mutation of H5N1 is unlikely. Were it not, it would have emerged already. Okay, cool. Yeah, good point. So you guys started messing with shit. But researchers want to be able to calculate the risk of such a virus emerging more precisely in order to help public health officials in their contingency plan. Yeah, their backup plan. News of Professor Faucier's work was another similar study by Yoshihiro Kawaka. Sorry, I butchered that. It published this May in the Journal of Nature that prompted the U.S. National Security Advisory Board for Biotechnology, NSAB, to ask both journals last November to redact some sensitive parts of the research, man. Ixnay on the research, eh? NSA and SAB believe the information could be used by terrorists to create a bioweapon. Now, the scientists who carried out the research and the journals concerned considered suggestions as to how the results could be redacted in the journals, but distributed to bona fide researchers who urgently needed the information. But they concluded such a system was unworkable. You can't share information with so many people in the field and keep it confidential at the same time, according to Professor Faucier. He's like Fauci, but Faucier. Editor-in-chief of the Journal Science, Dr. Bruce Albert, said the publication of the research in both Science and Nature had shone a spotlight on the need to deal with more effective research that could be misused by terrorists, so-called dual-use research of concern. It has become clear that we will need to work towards the establishment of a comprehensive international system for assessing DIRC, one that includes transparent procedures to allow selected access to any information omitted from a scientific publication to those with a need to know. Well, Professor Faucier questioned whether a system of asking scientific journals to censor DIRC work is ever workable or even appropriate. The general mode should be that science should be freely available so that the wider scientific community can build on that research, he said. I have a hard time identifying research papers that you shouldn't publish, so I'm not sure whether we should ever even go down this alley. Man, articles sucked away the end. But anyway, going back to all this, the bioweapon aspect, it just happens to now do it. We started talking about it 10 years ago, like little breadcrumbs here and there. I don't know, just start stacking your food to the rafters.